Prakash, what's really happening in Bengal, this escalation? Is this on both sides? Was the government just caught by surprise by the kind of rally that the BJP planned and was able to mount? Was it, disproportionate action by the police that could have been handled in a much better way? And is it that the corruption charges are really unnerving the government of the day to even, become this high-handed, if it is so?
Well, I don't think they were caught unawares, Shivani. I think the plan and the fact that they, lakhs of Karyakartas were planning to come in, I don't think they were caught unawares. The Calcutta High Court has asked for a report from the West Bengal Home Secretary over the allegations, which were made by the BJP that they were prevented from taking that march. What happened yesterday, as your visuals are showing, it was just ghastly. The burning down of cars and the assault of men in uniform. The BJP says that they were not police officers, that they were the TMC guys in police uniform, and that those who were vandalizing were not their cadres. But to say that this protest was illegal and no permission was granted, it's a bit far-fetched. Now, does any political party in Kolkata wait for for protest permission? I don't think if you look at the history of politics of Bengal, any protest has not happened because they didn't get permission. And another thing which I find a little bizarre to say, that Abhishek Banerjee does not consider himself important, but we do. Now, this is when the TMC starts sounding a little bit like the Congress party and Rahul Gandhi. Now, the TMC should know about political violence because it was born from that crucible, from Singur and from the Martyrs' Day protests. They vowed to end that culture of political violence and bring in a new era, so that there is no political gundaism and mafiadom that happens. But now, the more we see these kind of visuals, the more it seems that there's nothing new which is happening. It's the same thing. What they overthrew years ago and promised to bring about a change, it comes to the same thing. What we saw TMC versus the communists, now we are seeing the BJP versus the TMC, each accusing each other of lumpen elements, crude language, threatening each other, coming on television and saying nasty things, making personal comments. I think the communists sitting outside must be having the last laugh. Lo bhai, kya hua? Humko nikal ke, you're getting more of the same.
As far as political violence in the state is concerned, Pratim Ranjan Bose, there is no denying that culture of violence exists. I mean, we all know what happened post 2021 election results. Now, in this case, I'm not sure if the burden falls on one side alone, and I think both sides need to share the burden of what transpired on Tuesday. But we have seen, and is this the manifestation of that street violence culture of Bengal just erupting again? And is this the way it's going to be?
West Bengal is not merely that violence existed in politics. It's a complete outlier economically, politically in India. It's terribly violent, terribly oppressive, undemocratic state. And it has been so for last nearly 50 years. The difference is, let's come to this issue, for example. If you remember, Ms. Banerjee once stormed into the, in front of the Chief Minister's office. Jyoti Babu was the Chief Minister, and she stormed in with a girl and stayed in there. And then police, at the instruction of Jyoti Babu, just out. It made a tremendous news. In 1993, I was on the street. In a young reporter, I was on the street, and the crowd went berserk when the police, police finally fired. Police never fires first, nowhere. I mean, not whether Bengal or MP or whatever. Police always attacks as a response. Now, that in the past, across the India, there are cases of police firing. But you tell me in last 10 years, how many police firings you have heard? Across India, it doesn't happen anymore. So here what happened is, in 1993 people went out. Now Mr. Banerjee, Abhishek Banerjee say, if he is correct, then in 1993 police was correct, and he is actually validating Lieutenant government stance on that day.
Right. That's a good point to make.
And he is validating Nandigram, and he is validating Singur, and he is validating everything. Yeah. How come he can say that? And he is no ABCD. I mean, forget
Yeah,
about
I
this
mean,
is joke.
we all know
MP,
how
not
powerful
merely
he
an
is.
MP. He is
Absolutely.
the second man. There has been posters across Calcutta that a new Trinamool is coming, and with first day poster was Abhishek Banerjee's face, not even Mamata Banerjee's face.
No, you make a
Everyone
good
knows
point,
this. What
Pratim
I'm
Ranjan
saying
Bose,
is,
that if you opposed all of this against you by the left, can you now in power justify police shooting people in the forehead? I mean, your statements matter. Because of the position you hold, this is not a random TMC leader. Let me take that to Ms. Mittal also joining us. I also want to add, TMC MPs have actually created ruckus inside Parliament. They've thrown a book on the speaker. I find it a little bit, too high horsey for the TMC to talk about how protests should be done. Look at their own history. They've created ruckus in Parliament. Forget the streets.
You see, TMC, I think, the West Bengal itself is errs on the side of violence. That has been the history for a long time. But in this context, September is the month, I think, when you have a lot more violence and activities against various political parties, because you're moving into a time of festivities. There's going to be Durga Puja, then there's going to be Diwali and all. So traditionally, September has been the month when we have seen the most action in a state like West Bengal. And that of course doesn't justify the kind of charges and counter charges and the way that the things are moving. But I think that both the sides are to blame. You see, BJP's problem now is that a lot of its leaders have left and joined the TMC. Its vote percentage has fallen in local bodies elections. So they feel, with 2024 approaching quite fast, and the Home Minister quite eager to make inroads again, because they had 18 MPs, if you remember, in the Lok Sabha. So they want to make a comeback.
No, but that's fair, right? Renu Mittal, in any state, the opposition will do everything it can to put the government on the mat and to come to power or come back to power. That is not a justification to clamp down on them.
I'm giving you reasons. No. This is not a justification. But you see, West Bengal does have a history of violence. We've seen how the left used to behave, and then Trinamool has inherited that mantle from them. And I think that BJP is not really far behind, when it comes to being high-handed, where if they have the police under their control. And there are charges that, TMC was infiltrated, TMC is saying BJP, all kinds of things. I'm not justifying that. I'm saying that the facts are that there has to be a reason for this.
Yeah.
So
you believe
trying to make a comeback.
The fight for 2024 is actually being fought on the streets, and could that be an indication that there could be more violent clashes in times to come? I will leave our viewers with that thought. I've run out of time. I do thank our guests for joining us.